Thank you. And I am going to begin with some words from our president and the leaders of Hawaii Papaʻokeʻau. Mahalo.
Aloha mai kako. My name is David Lassner, and I serve as the president of the University of Hawaiʻi, leading our 10-campus system and our flagship University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa. We serve these islands, which are the ancestral home of the Kanaka Maoli, or Native Hawaiian people. My own ancestry involves centuries of wandering, but I am now privileged to make my home in lush Waiomau within Palolo Valley, in the Ahupua'a of Waikiki, within the Moku of Kona on the island of Oahu. I am personally grateful to this place and her people, both of which have embraced me for over 4 decades. Over 125 years ago, Queen Liliuokalani yielded the Hawaiian Kingdom and these territories under duress and protest to the United States to avoid the bloodshed of her people. And it was nearly 30 years ago that the US government formally apologized for this act, which it has acknowledged as an illegal overthrow. As the only public institution of higher education in Hawaii, the University of Hawaii is strategically clear in our commitment to become a model Indigenous serving institution, committed to the sustainability of Hawaii's people, islands, language, culture, and knowledge. This strategic imperative is named Hawaii Papaʻokeʻau, or the Hawaii Foundation of Enlightened Knowledge. So today I welcome you all, and I offer up an invitation to join us in celebrating the University of Hawaii's ongoing contributions to the advancement of Indigenous Hawaiian knowledge. Mahalo.
Aloha mai kako. I am Mainette Kapiahiokalani Padikinani Benham, Chancellor of the University of Hawaii West Oahu and co-chair of Hawaii Papaʻokeʻau, with Chancellor of Maui College, Dr. Louis Hokoana. Hawaii Papaʻokeʻau was established in January 2012 and consists of representatives from all 10 campuses. The purpose of this presidentially appointed committee is to set goals and objectives to address the higher education needs of Native Hawaiians through 3 pathways: leadership development, community engagement, and Hawaiian language and cultural parity. At our first meeting this school year, our discussions focused on how our Native Hawaiian students, faculty, and staff, and their families were managing this challenging time. Committee members shared that folks on their campus were feeling isolated, disconnected, and depressed due to the psychosocial, emotional, and economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we asked, what could Hawaii Papaʻokeʻau do? And after some discussion led by Tapori Tangaro, representative from Hawaii Community College, we decided that we wanted to address Indigenous well-being through the nourishment that can be found in the abundant talent and knowledge across our campus communities. Hence, the birth of the inaugural Hawaii Papaʻokeʻau series, He Ukana Aloha Kā Kīlauea. Mahalo for joining us today, and we hope to see you and your family and friends every month through June of 2021 as we lovingly share this makana with you. E nā nea kākou I ka ike kupuna I ho'owili ai mai ki kilo mai. Enjoy and be enriched by the wisdom passed down from our kupuna through so many generations to us today. Aloha.
No tihi la we ate aloha hanali oka ke le ka moana la hana holo ma mua holo ma ho pela hana ka upono kari hui tamata hani la hana hae o elima.
Okay, aloha mai kako. Thank you all again for your patience and for coming to join us on this really important topic today. My name is Kaivi Punikoikavekyu Life, and I will be your host today. And I'm really just holding space for some really wonderful people that you are really here to listen to. Just a little bit about me and this programming, as I just shared on the video. I work at the University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa, and I am UH Manoa's Native Hawaiian Affairs Program Officer. And what that means on this campus is that my kuleana is to take the 30 years of Native Hawaiian reports that have been written, particularly the Ka'u report of 1986, the Hawaii Papo Kiao report of 2012, the Keauhou report of 2012, and the Kaho'oko Kuleana report of 2016. And to bring all of those together to think about how we implement them on our campus. And so that is a privilege and the kuleana that I carry, and I'm honored to do that work for our campus and our communities. I'm just gonna do a really quick tech check. There's some interesting things going on today. Can you folks see me? And you can just throw your response in the chat if you can see me. Great. Okay, just wanted to make sure that that is happening. Mahalo. So today, what we're going to do is, mahalo. Oh, you can only see me. Thank you very much. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to, finish off the UH Manoa November series of this larger webinar series. So last month was a different campus. This month is Manoa, and then next month we will pass it on over to UH West Oahu. And in particular, UH West Oahu will be hosting two series. One on December 9th with Mele o Honouliuli, and one on December 23rd, the series webinar entitled Christmas in the Islands. And so please feel free to join into those. We hope you do, to learn a little bit more about UH West Oahu. And Sonia has put those dates in the chat. Same time, same place. And Sonia also added a link down below that says, that has the link to Hawaii Papo Kiao, where you can find information and the recordings of all past webinars in this series. So thank you again for joining us and hopefully continuing on this journey with us. Okay, so to get focused on today, today's session is on the Malama project, supporting students in substance misuse recovery. And I'm really, really excited, and I'm hoping they can both turn on their videos, to have with us today two really amazing women that I'm gonna really turn the time over to. But just to give a little background before I introduce them, substance misuse and recovery are things that some people might say, oh, we don't want to talk about that, in thinking about how we bring aloha and well-being. But really, I really wanted to bring it to front and center for a couple of reasons. In my own ohana, in my own circle of friends, we have ohana and friends who are in recovery, who have experiences with substance misuse, and we want to know how to support them. Especially at this time of year, as the holidays come, we know that that is a time of stress for a lot of people. Maybe some of us on this call today, that's real. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, which is also very real, and all the challenges that we have seen this year. And so I wanted to think about, in the video you folks watched, this idea about mele and mo'olelo and storytelling that we can bring as some aloha to our community. I think that when we are empowered with knowledge and understanding through the stories of folks like our esteemed panelists today, that's well-being to me. That is getting us to this place of really being able to take care of one another and ourselves. And so that is the reason why I'm really excited to have, again, our really amazing panelists with us today. So without further ado, first we have Ku'ulea Aloha Nalani Salazar Vitale. She is the alcohol and drug education counselor at UH Manoa. And then second, we have Lilinoi Kohikawa. Okay, everybody knows this when you're a grad student and you got to do like 1,000 different things. So I'm going to start with all her different kuleana right now. It's an impressive list. So she is a MSW student, graduate student, Master's in Social Work student. She's an intern at Ekolumea Nui and Blueprint for Change. She is a C3 OD2A fellow at UH Manoa at the School of Social Work. She is the assistant director and business manager at Navai Chamber Choir. She is the vice president of the graduate student organization in social work. She is the Hui Malama president, and she is the Malama Project program coordinator. And I just want to pause exactly and give a little bit of shout out to all the amazing things that these two women are doing, but I want to just lean into grad students for a second and undergrads who carry so many roles for our campus and in the community, as well as being successful students. So thank you, Ku'ule and Lilinoi, for being here today. It is like, I'm so happy that you two are here. So welcome, and let's make sure that your audio works. You folks are here, okay?
Aloha.
Yes. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you two so much for being here. I really want to turn the time over to you, you know, and get a sense. My first question to the two of you today is, what's the Malama Project all about? You know, I've heard of it, you know, I know a little bit, but for all of our guests, especially who are joining us, can you tell us a little bit about the Malama Project?
Absolutely. Mahalo, first of all, for allowing us to come and speak with everyone here and holding space with everybody. It's just amazing time of the year. Lilino, if you're able to, can we share the screen and show a little bit? We have, you know, a little bit of visuals to add to our questions or answers. So a little bit about the Malama Project. We were founded in 2016 through a grant through collegiate transforming youth recovery. And, you know, we kind of started out a little small, really trying to get our bases through. We are in the Office of Student Affairs through the University of Health Services. When we are all back on campus, we do have a really great spot for our students at the Queen Lily Ulkalani Center for Student Services, 313, right next to the Counseling Center. And so what we do since 2018 is provide peer support for students in recovery. Before 2019, we were really kind of trying to understand where we want to go with Malama Project. We definitely, our basis is to care for our students in recovery because there are different needs that our students have who are in recovery and being a student. And so we were able to relaunch ourselves in a new form and a different. So we are now, we restructured ourselves in 2019 through Lily Noid's efforts with the SAFE Project, which is an NGO in the continent. She was given an instructor, or really someone who can help build our program, which we'll be able to talk to a little bit more. And we relaunched our efforts on Collegiate Recovery Day, which was on April 16, 2019.
Awesome, thank you. You know, and so I really want to lean into this idea, and I'm sure you folks are going to lean into it a little bit more as well. But you know, this idea that Malama Project is like for students by students in a sense. Am I sensing that correctly, Kule?
Yeah. So when we talk about peer recovery, it's for I am the counselor. So what I do on one-on-one counseling, and so because I do one-on-one counseling, I wouldn't do the groups, and it's for students because I don't want to have any conflict, or even I don't want the students not to be able to feel comfortable to share with the group. And we want them to be able to have a separation of one-on-one counseling, but then also peer support. And so that's what I do. But Lily Noi helps with the peer support. If you would like to talk a little bit more about that, Lily Noi.
Sure. Yeah. So I am in charge of most of the peer support. I am a recovery coach now, certified, just got certified. And so really what we're looking to do is support students on their academic journey and their overall wellness. And what we found is that students in recovery are really what we prefer to call kind of on their healing journey, face really unique issues and challenges navigating how to pursue and maintain their well-being while continuously dealing with like all of these additional stressors of academic rigor. You know, you can add to that college lifestyle of partying, pressure to maybe drink with friends, challenging family lives, you know, ongoing stigma on campus and in the community. There's just a whole host of challenges, but what we've also found is that students in recovery also have a lot of really amazing strengths. You know, they're highly motivated students. They have among the highest GPAs. You know, they're always overachievers. You know, they have incredible life experiences. You know, and they make amazing. They have amazing leadership potential as well. And so, what we really want to do is show that these haumana are the evidence of what works, both on campus and in the community. So that's kind of what we look to do.
Oh, sorry, now you can hear me. I think that's really important. Thank you for leaning into that a little bit and thinking about the way we can use our own experiences in Kuleana to really help one another. I think it's a really beautiful approach. Now, okay, we're talking about recovery, but can we talk a little bit about what we mean when we use this word? I think it's really important that we get to the roots of these words so that we are using them the same way. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I am a student in recovery. I'm in long-term recovery. Well, I actually, like I said before, I really prefer to call it a healing journey, because recovery is sometimes a term that doesn't necessarily resonate with everyone. And so when I say recovery, when I say on this healing journey from substance misuse, what it means to me is that I no longer use a substance that I had an issue with. And I made that conscious decision to kind of embark on this healing journey. And so when I talk about this healing journey, it's really, what I think one of the most important things is to remember that substance misuse is really just a symptom of a much larger issue or deeper trauma. And individuals often use to escape either the trauma or a situation or something like that. And when we run into an issue is when it kind of progresses to a point where it impacts their daily lives. And so when we think about recovery, we really want to frame it in a space that it's this reclamation of our lives and of ourselves. But also want to make sure that we also spread the message that we are not defined by our addiction, or not defined by our use of substances. It's a part of our past. But it does, and it does inform different parts of our lives, and we can choose to claim it as a strength for ourselves. And so that really is where our motivation lies for the work that we do. When a person makes a choice to embark on that journey, we see so much strength. It's this fire deep within them. There's ancestors walking alongside of them, helping them along the way. And so this is how we choose to view individuals on this journey. We want to see and empower their mo'olelo of resilience. That's their hi'iaka journey. So
beautiful. Thank you. Love that. Yeah, Kule.
Mahalo. And then if I could just add, there's different pathways to recovery. Oftentimes we hear of AA, NA, Alcohol Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Crystal Meth Anonymous, but there's different pathways. And at the Malama Project, we are not linear. We definitely take the knowledge from our kupuna to accept you as you are, to help with your healing journey. Because if we're only to be linear and only to accept one way, then we wouldn't be able to support all of our students, which would we do? And so I just really wanted to emphasize that. Because aloha is what we give, and we can't just give aloha one way. And so that's what we also provide at Malama Project. It's not abstinence-based, it's more harm reduction, where we're able to help reduce the harm or the possibility of a relapse. I call it prolapse. That's what we're there for. And so that's what we really would like to emphasize too, is that even though there's multiple forms and pathways to recovery, we accept it all.
Thank you. Those two things are really, really helpful. And I'm hoping for the audience, they are helpful for me for sure. A couple of things I just heard from the two of you, the idea of talking about our healing pathway. And I love that pivot away from recovery, because I think we're all healing from something. Not that we're broken, but that we all have things that we can say that we have share in common, that we are healing from, right? And that we are continually on a journey of healing and health and well-being. So pulling that stigma away from this idea that, oh, you in recovery over there, I'm good. Because likely I'm not perfect. And I'm also in my healing journey, if it's healing my body or it's healing my heart of something, we are all on that walk together. We might have different struggles and challenges, but maybe we could all be on that together in different ways. So I'm really resonating with that. And then something else you said was, that we're not defined by this, and that this is actually a challenge that we have, and we all have challenges in our lives. And we all actually, when my sister passed away from her own struggles with addiction, my brother brought us together for kind of a family gathering, kind of, funeral of sorts. And he talked about addiction and how we all are addicted to different things. I'm addicted to work. Many people are addicted to sugar. And so I think this idea that, we're not defined by that, but those are challenges that make us resilient, is really beautiful. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a big proponent of the idea of, a'ali'i kumakani, and that resilience that we get from the challenges we have in our lives. And I think that your work really demonstrates that. So thank you for that. And I want to just let the attendees know that if you have questions, I put this in the chat, but just to say it out loud, please add them to the Q&A section, and we will be bringing them up at the end. So please do ask your questions. Okay, we are talking about the Malama Project. We're talking about what it means to be in recovery. Can we talk about your particular approach to supporting folks in recovery? Because that is really what excites me. So yeah, cool, Illinois.
Sure. I was going to try to bring the our PowerPoint up again. So as Ku'ulei mentioned, we began with the grant in 2016 from Transforming Youth Recovery, but I really haven't had the capacity to offer more than the peer support here and there throughout the years. And in 2019, we began this kind of rebirth, right? So the Malama Project, our mission and vision is really to provide a space where all students in recovery can feel safe, accepted, understood, and empowered. And then, we really ground ourselves in culture and make sure that those values are embedded in our everyday practice. And so our kahua, our foundation, is built on lokahi, pilina, and aloha. And so, just this, actually yesterday, I felt really called to add in this part. This is not a part of our regular presentation, so so bear with me. But I felt very called to add this in, and this really stemmed from some work that we've been doing with our Indigenous cousins on the continent. So the organization is called White Bison, and they run American Indian Alaska Native nonprofit. And some of you may have heard of them. Their president and founder, Don Koyas of the Mohican Nation, wrote a book called Red Road to Wellbriety, which really offers a Native perspective of the 12 steps shared through the foundations of the medicine wheel and teaching of their Native elders. And while our program doesn't focus on 12 steps, we're a more like a supportive entity toward a person's pathway. We don't want to take the place of anyone's pathway, but we've enjoyed quite a bit learning from our Indigenous cousins on the continent. And so they offer a bunch of different programs, basically based on these Native teachings. And so what they shared with us was this process of really understanding and needing to create a healing forest. And so the unhealthy forest, so you'll see on screen, there's on the, I don't know if the view is backwards for you guys, but the left, the forest on the left of the blue Wellbriety movement, that is a depiction of an unhealthy forest, which is really the product of historical and intergenerational trauma, and really outlines this impact on our families through the process of colonization and all of that subsequent racial trauma and negative socioeconomic impact, right? And the criminalization of the Native identity and, subsequent loss of identity for so many of our people. And these traumas are passed on from generation to generation. This is not only true for Native Hawaiians, this is true for peoples across the globe, right? This unresolved grief is passed from one generation, compounded by the unresolved grief of the next, and so on and so on. And all of this eha, right? This anger, the guilt, the shame, the fear, it's going into the soil. You'll see there depicted in the soil. So today we may have generations of our people being born with all of this internal eha buried super deep. And it can begin to bubble up to the surface and manifest in many different ways. And it doesn't always manifest in a negative way, but oftentimes it can manifest in anger, violence, substance misuse, you know, those types of these issues that we're seeing impacting our people today. And this is when you get an unhealthy forest. And so Native Hawaiians kind of looking at this model, right? As we were learning about this model, it really made a lot of sense to us, and how we kind of kilo, how we observe our own natural environment, and the ahupua'a system, right? Which you'll see on the screen as well. And so, you know, kind of looking at that nahele, right, that forest is in the uplands for us, the Vauakua. And that forest feeds into our entire ahupua'a system. That soil, that potentially you know, unhealthy soil will run off into our kahawai and are carried downstream and can impact all of the rest of our systems. And we can kind of see these parallels in our communities today on how we understand our ohana. And for us, we really focus on the lo'i, right, as being like our section of how we kind of what we focus in on Malama project as being like the system that we want to, how we look and understand our own healing. So we look at ourselves as the kalo, right? Because that's the depiction of our ancestor, Haloa. And understanding that if that kalo, right, if we are sick, and we need to look at the things that are surrounding us to see what is sick. Is there where is the sick getting in, right? Is the rest of the lo'i sick? Is there something in the water? We have to look upstream. Is there something else getting in some other way that is influencing our own environment, right? And if we can't find that, if we don't look far enough upstream, we don't look deep enough, we don't put in the work, and we just decide, okay, well, we're just gonna go heal that one kalo, right? But then we put that kalo or that person back into that potentially sick or potentially unhealthy environment, and what's going to happen? They're just going to get sick again, you know? So this is kind of our understanding that we have to put in the work toward this collective healing and heal upstream, all the way up, healing the source of the ma'i and our traumas, and you know, that have been left to kind of take root far up in our nahele. And it's really all up to us as kanaka, or as people living in this aina, right? He ali'i ka aina, he kaua ke kanaka. You know, we have to work together toward this collective healing and create these healthy forests. And so when we think about recovery here, it's more than just the removal, right, or reduction of use of alcohol or other drugs from an otherwise unchanged life. The journey is really about this larger kind of change in personal identity and values, and it's a visible change in the individual's relationship with others. So it's about this physical, emotional, spiritual, and relational health. And it's them embarking on this like huaka'i, right, for harmony, wholeness, you know, of the self, the ohana and aina. So that's kind of that's our kahua right there. And so what we offer right now is, as Ku'ule had mentioned, we offer one-on-one counseling through the alcohol drug education program. We also offer peer support, and we do that through our weekly talk stories, which is a peer hui, informal kuka, or a discussion group where we you know, it's always led by students that are in recovery. And we can offer support and guidance to one another, you know, we just kind of talk about our challenges for the week, you know, what's been going on, what have you run into, and then we offer, you know, guidance to each other. We currently meet every Friday at 12 via Zoom, and you know, in light of the pandemic and the fact that we're using Zoom, we've been able to open it up to systems, all 10 campuses, you know, and any system student impacted by substance misuse, and whether that be personally or a family member, or, you know, we really leave that determination up to the student. But basically, if they're looking for support in some kind of way, we're here for them, you know. And you can scan our QR code on the screen there. You can email recovery@hawaii.edu to schedule any of these types of things. And our website is on our link tree as well there. So, and I think I mentioned this before, but our peer services are not meant to take the place of anyone's current pathway of healing. You know, we're really here to provide additional support and connection, both on campus and then now in the virtual world. We don't have any religious fellowship or 12-step affiliation. So we offer substance-free, so we have a club as well. So it's an RIO, Hui Malama. And through that, we offer substance-free social activities. Our only requirement is that they not be in active use of a substance at the time of the event. We don't make any other determination besides that. And so that club is called Hui Malama. It's open to all students, those accessing Malama project services and those not, just those that are anyone interested, recovery allies, we open it up to. It's really just anyone being interested in being in service with this positive and healing intent. And then in addition to social activities, Hui Malama offers like community service opportunities and really works diligently toward destigmatizing recovery both on and off campus. This is the issue that we have on campus and in the community. I mean, this is, it's not unique to our campus or anything. And so we're also, see what else we got. Oh, we also have education and outreach opportunities through webinars and trainings, which are also currently offered via Zoom and open to, most of our trainings and webinars are open to anyone. We also participate in service and place-based learning through Malama Aina and are currently exploring what that looks like in a virtual world as well. Another foundational part of our program is this exploration of holistic and culturally grounded healing. And so, yeah, you can subscribe to our newsletter. I think I mentioned that as well. And so just really quickly, when we kind of rebuilt our program in the fall of 2019, this is our ho'olu, right? Our continuous growth, which was, aimed at developing this culturally grounded, resonant, and inclusive space for our students. The project really stemmed from this kind of awareness that that oftentimes recovery spaces don't necessarily resonate with Indigenous peoples or Indigenous ways of healing, individuals of color, or those who maybe wish to pursue a more holistic pathway of healing. And many times these recovery spaces and even recovery language can feel exclusive to individuals of color and those whose cultural backgrounds are really deeply rooted in community or pilina, these connections to ohana, right? So we aim to address this dichotomy of individualism on the Western spectrum and the collectivist or more holistic approach toward healing, ola, that well-being of the whole environment that is more resonant with us here in Hawaii. So through this growth of the Malama project, we additionally provide students with opportunities to connect on a deeper level through 4 initiatives, which I'm going to quickly go through. You framed through Olelo No'eau because Punihe, you mentioned one of them when you had opened, and I just was like, oh yay. So Heali'i Ka'aina He Kaua Ke Kanaka, the land is chief and us its servant, meaning it's our responsibility to show stewardship to the land. And through this, we learn to care and tend to the land as a embodiment and as extension of ourselves, right? And looking deeper what it means to be grounded in our own connection to the land. So we encourage our hui to think about how this reconnection to the land and to place and to Indigenous practice helps to rebuild a sense of self-worth and interconnectedness and restore the cultural connections that are often severed in earlier generations of the families due to colonization. For those that are joining us from other cultural backgrounds, this connection really also serves to honor the host culture and helps to develop a sense of place and cultural reverence for these people here in Hawaii. Our second initiative, A'ohe Pau Ka'ike Kahalau Ho'okahi. So all knowledge is not learned in one school, meaning we can learn from many sources. So this Olelo No'eau offers us the framework for facilitating, understanding, and embracing the many pathways of healing and resilience, and guides us as we are learning from many sources all around us that offer insight into these various healing pathways, like holistic, Western, non-Western, alternative, just being a sponge, basically. So yeah, this one speaks to me deep in my soul as well. I'm a wind-resisting a'ali'i bush. There is no wind that can push me over. So the ali'i bush can withstand the most intensive winds, twisting and bending, but seldom breaking off or falling. So this alelo no'eau really embodies the resilience we see in those on their healing journey, and is the lens through which we approach our peer support, our talk story, our one-on-one counseling, really working toward embracing our collective mo'olelo, right? Our stories of resilience through the empowerment of one another. And then our last initiative is I ka'olelo no keola, I ka'olelo no kamake. So in language is life, in language is death, meaning words can heal and words can destroy. So the way we choose to speak to those who struggle with substance misuse makes a huge difference in their outcomes, because language definitely perpetuates stigma. And this lens of understanding is really especially important as we as we embark on this journey, hopefully together, to create spaces of recovery and healing and resilience throughout the UH system and beyond into the community all across the Pai'aina. That's the vision. Right? That's the huge vision. and really become better allies to those on their healing journey. And so this initiative also provides our framework for our research and our training development as well. And so the intersectionality of these olelo no'eau really paint a picture of resilience and strength, and offer us this insight into, kind of this, our innate, our mana, right? Our spiritual power inside that is within us, and it's fed by this knowledge that is passed down by our ancestors, and where we learn to embrace our collective mo'olelo. And when we begin to embrace this, we begin to heal. We heal ourselves, we heal our ohana, and that in turn heals all the way up, right? Yeah, so I think that is all I have. I don't know if Ko'ule wants to talk about the next one or...
All right, is that good? Okay, mahalo. Mahalo, Lilinoy. Yeah, I just want to take a moment. Like, I'm so stoked to be able to work with Illinois because of the changes that we made through our relaunch. Like, it's a lot of her work, and it's just been really amazing. And I just hear her speak about it again. I just feel so blessed to be able to be in this space with her. So mahalo, Illinois, for all your hard work. And so I myself, I'm not in recovery. I am an ally. And as an ally, I have responsibilities to uphold my allyship. And so what we want to do in Malama Project is help change the narrative. So Lily Noe is talking a lot about ways we can help destigmatize recovery. And through what we do at Malama Project, we intend to change that narrative to empower those who feel they had no power because of what happened in their past. And what we're trying to do is, again, heal, right? We want to heal collectively together. And even though we are definitely so based on our knowledge from our kupuna, our indigenous knowledge, again, people who come to Manoa to study, or even to some, if they want to be able to attend or come to Malama Project, it's, again, finding that sense of place, because Aina is healing. Aina will care for you, and we really want to help embed that in the process of the people who come to Malama Project, is how healing Aina can be. I've gone through a healing for my own personal trauma through Aina and Koho'olawe. I've been blessed through that, and we're able to really translate that through what we do in Malama Project in different ways, and that's why Malama Aina is really important in our programming. We want to definitely increase conversations. Like, let's talk about it. Let's destigmatize and talk stories about recovery and celebrate everyone's successes. Let's have a cake on your day of recovery, on your day, on your birthday, your rebirth, if that's what you call it. Whatever people talk about, that's fine. And also too, not once have you heard anybody on this panel say substance abuse, because we talk about language and how hurtful it could be. And when you say substance abuse, you are intending that that person has abused something. And really what it is something more deep than that. It's misuse because there could be that chemical reaction that we haven't bring. I'm not getting any clinical stuff because we ain't got time for that. We're not talking about clinical stuff. This is a way that we can help support the hui, support the people, support our students. And so we definitely want to change our words And so when we talk about changing our words, it's like learning a new language, recovery inclusive language. So you might, hear me slip up a little time, but I'm cognitive about it because I'm continually working on my allyship. Just because I'm called an ally one day doesn't mean I'm going to be an ally all the time. I always have to think about my own biases to help decrease the stigma. And so we respond, and so recovery ally training, you see this, the picture here on Zoom. So we want to expand allyship. We want to be able to support others who want to be allies and understand and really learn. Because what we want to do is help, by having more allies on campus, will help support students in recovery, to help destigmatize their healing journey, and to be proud and confident in the fact that they're able to do what every other student's able to do and strive, and just be amazing. And so that is coming soon. We're in our final process of recovery ally training. We didn't want to just kind of launch something, and just like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. No, we put work into it, and it's good work, and we're so excited to be able to launch it. We've had community input. We had partnerships through the Continent Safe Project, the LGBTQ office here on campus, and just a lot more amazing people. And I'll let Lily and I talk a little bit more about how we respond with Aloha through recovery allyship, but then also altogether what we do with Malama Project and also Mo'olelo Story Resilience. However, sorry, I forgot to tell you, Lily Noi also posted a link in the chat box, the forum facade. So that is the perceived stigma scale. If you haven't had a chance to fill it out while you're listening to us, please do, and we'll talk about it towards the end. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Kule. Yeah, I just want to reiterate some of the things that I'm hearing. Oh, some people already completed the scale. One thing that's coming in from the audience and that I too am hearing is this idea that, I'm going to just read the mana'o here. For so long, substance misuse, previously labeled addiction, and mahalo, because actually just want to let our audience know that Kule and Lili Noi helped me. I was using the word abuse, and they're like, sister, we're not going to use that word. I was like, perfect. Tell me, teach me, right? So this constant learning that is important. So the comment says, for so long, substance misuse, previously labeled addiction, and healing or recovery was understood as an individual condition rather than a systemic issue, right? And I just want to hold on that for a minute because, Lili and I really spoke about that, right? We are reacting to a larger, deeper, intergenerational situation, right? Which is what I heard from Lili Noi and also from Ku'ule. And I think, and this comment is really leaning into that. And I think that's really important for us all to hear, and some of us, and we all react in different ways. We're all dealing with that in different ways, right? And this is one way. For many years, this comment says, for many years, the collective nature of health and wholeness has been ignored, right? And so this person says, I'm really thrilled that the Malama Project is helping to reshape our thinking and understanding of collective health, and in the process building of a wellness community, which I think, again, I wanna lean into, because you folks are really, you're bringing a wholeness to this picture, and you're giving us ideas about how we heal holistically. And the thing is, it's really beautiful, is that you're talking about substance misuse, but we could be talking about a lot of different things. And the idea of reconnecting to Aina, reconnecting to each other, reconnecting to ourselves through Aina, those are healing no matter what, right? And you all are making me think of Kumu Kyoki Baklayan from Hawaiian Studies. He teaches La'o Pa'ao, and when we talk about a Native Hawaiian place of learning, he says, what about a Native Hawaiian place of healing? And isn't that what we are really doing, right? Isn't that what education is actually about? So I think there's just so many pieces of resonance that are coming through. We do have one more question. And so maybe we'll come back to that as you folks are talking. But the question is about, what are substance-free activities that folks are participating in during this pandemic, or that perhaps you folks are offering? So I just want to, I think it's a really good, like, hands-on question that we want to make sure we answer. But Lili Noi, did you want to add to this conversation?
Oh no, yeah, no, that is I love this comment so much, because I think that, like, exactly what you said, like, we're often siloed into focusing on the symptom rather than whole picture. And so, I love this kind of talk about shifting toward being a more holistic kind of understanding. And a lot of the time, some of the students that we work with as well don't see the fact that they've overcome substance misuse as like anything to kind of be proud of, or it could be like something that's just one of many things that they've experienced in their lives. And what we're really trying to do is to help them realize what incredible strength that is, and and be proud of it and celebrate it. Like, let's celebrate it. So
Mahalo. I know we're coming to the end of time. We started a little bit late, so I'm going to honor that we started a little late. And so if you folks can hang on with us, but we're gonna be wrapping up soon. I did want to ask you folks to talk a little bit more about the Mo'olelo series, and also, like, you started to talk about what else you have in terms of the future planning. So I'd love to hear a little bit about where you folks are going with that.
oh yes, Kalamai, I also forgot to answer that question. Kalamai, I'm nervous, everyone. Mahalo for bearing with me.
You are doing amazing. No need to be. You're the expert here, so no need to be nervous.
And I also just wanted to mahalo you, Punihe, for being such an incredible champion of our work, and for sharing, your story as well. And we just can't, we can't mahalo you enough for all of your support in this. So I just briefly want to share with everyone. So so this is kind of in conjunction with our Malama project as well as our Hui Malama. So we actually have our club is getting a whole revamp. We have a couple students and 2 students this year that are participating in the Collegiate Recovery Leadership Academy. So I'll get to that in just a second. But so our past events, in September, we had this Mo'olelo of Resilience Recovery and Healing Speaker Series, which you can find several of the recordings on our website under past webinars and trainings. And with the success of this, we offered we had community members come in and share their stories or share their approaches to recovery and healing. And we offered space afterwards for students to huipu, right? To just gather together, to talk, to cry, to laugh, to share their resilience, to share their challenges, whatever. And it was just such an amazing space, and really motivated us to continue on with this type of framing. So what we did was we moved toward a ongoing series of Mo'olelo Mondays, which is started November 9th and will run till mid-April. And this is really, so taking the Mo'olelo of Resilience framing and then looking the other way, right? So diving deeper into Mo'olelo of Resilience, Strength, and Healing, but focusing on the Mo'olelo passed down by our ancestors, right? So the mythological stories, or ka'au. And so we've invited kumu from all around the community and different campuses as well to share about the Mo'olelo and Ka'au. And then we'll also follow it again by another debriefing kind of hang sesh afterwards to vala'au, to talk story with the kumus, and then how we can begin to interpret and understand these mo'olelo and how they relate to our own journey and what lessons they're trying to impart on us, as well as how this wisdom can continue to influence us and inform our everyday practice. And these webinars are open to the entire system, as well as any interested community members. And we're extremely grateful to be co-sponsored by Women's Center, the Hui Kako'o Graduate Student Organization, Punihe's Office in the Native Hawaiian Place of Learning Advancement Office, the continuing education through the Myron B. Thompson School of Social Work, and Ekolumia Nui, which have just been absolutely incredible to work with. And so we also offer this. This is one of the ways that we try to connect to Aina in this series, is we offer like a pilina on Instagram kind of thing. It's a hashtag Kilo Aina kind of campaign. So taking what we learned in the Mo'olelo and going out to Kilo Aina in our space and observing the natural environment around us and connecting to some of the lessons that we learned in each Mo'olelo session, and posting that kilo on Instagram, to kind of create a collective story to link our students from all across the Pai'aina, because we have many students that are off island right now, one of our neighbor islands, or some that potentially went to the continent and other places. So it's really a way to continue to connect through this new environment we all find ourselves on. And then future events will also look at we're looking at topics of bridging community and collegiate recovery, really focusing on building pilina and healing pathways from community throughout all UH campuses, exploring what it would take and what it might look like to shift towards recovery and resiliency oriented systems of care across state services, and diving into even what it means to create recovery ready communities, shifting community perceptions, that positive psychological change within our communities, addressing the community trauma and fear so we can begin on this collective healing journey when our haumana or people from the community are at home healing, right? And so this brings me back to our club. So we're getting a super cool revamp right now. We have 2 students, like I said, in our Collegiate Recovery Leadership Academy, which is this year-long program with this nonprofit on the continent called Safe Project, which is like a nonprofit hub for all of the collegiate recovery programs. And so one of the impact projects of that student will be to revamp our club to make it super fun. So basically it's a really new club, I'll be honest. It just started, so we don't have a ton of social activities, but that is one of the things that we'll be rolling out very soon under this student. So please be on the lookout for that, and you can subscribe to our mailing list for more information on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I feel like Illinois is such an engine, right? I love it. I love it. So, I know we're coming up on time, recognizing that we did start a little late. And I just wanted to kind of maybe end here with asking the two of you, and there's some really great questions here in the chat as well, asking around, how do we deconstruct our entire system from early on, right? What can we do to create healing from the time our students enter our classrooms? But really, if we think about it before they enter our classrooms, right? How do we create the space and be ready? What are the pathways to proactively providing the nurturing, healing, honoring of students and families so that all of our haumana feel celebrated and feel a sense of belonging and total well-being throughout their lives? And these are such important questions. And what I'm sensing from our audience is like, give us a next step. And so maybe as we kind of close out this time, Kule and also Illinois, as we think about allies, especially, not only, but allies, especially at this particular moment, what do you want us to know? What do you want allies to know? What do you want friends and family to know? Especially, let's be real, especially as we go into the holiday season, especially as we go into like almost a year now in a pandemic. What do you want us to know? What can we walk away with that we can share with other people if you had to kind of distill it for us?
Hello. So with, like I mentioned before, like as an ally, I always have to work on my allyship, which I always have to think about my bias as well. And so if it's okay, if I could, we have a few results from the perceived stigma scale. And so I blindly sent in the perceived stigma scale, and y'all answer the questions, not really understanding what the scale is about, right? And so let me see if I'm able to share the screen, and I'll be able to share a little bit of the responses.
Yeah, mahalo. As you do that, I can just say I know there's a few people who are having a little bit of a hard time, but you get a sense of it. Go ahead, Kule.
I apologize.
You're on mute, sis.
And so when we look at the perceived stigma scale, so it said strongly disagree. So we'll go to like this question right here. So most people would be willing to date someone who has been treated for substance misuse. Strongly disagree, agree, strongly agree. And so the less total, so every response is a point, and the more stigma is the more of a point. So strongly disagree would be 4, disagree 3, agree 2, and then strongly agree 1. And so it ranges from 8 to 32. And so the higher the score is, the higher is the perceived stigma. And so when we look at these questions, these are really general questions too. Most employers will pass it over the applicant if someone who has been treated for substance use is in favor of another applicant. And so well, again, when we look at the total, it's about mid. It's a little bit higher, but there's no 32s, which is great, which is a higher perceived stigma, right? And so what I'm really excited about is that we as people, people who have took it, they see that if someone's overcame substance misuse, they have the capabilities to be, a, a member of society who can contribute, who can date, who can take care of kids, and that their substance is not what defines them. Their healing is, and being able to kako other people who are on their wellness journeys. And so that's something I wanted to share about allies is think about what you're doing, what you're saying. Sometimes, especially around Ohana and family, we tend to tease, and also like try to be, no, it's okay, it's just one beer, oh, it's just one puff, it's okay, just, but we really want to be able to understand the person's wellness and the person's journeys and really support and aloha them for their choices and malama them as well. So that's a little bit that I wanted to share as someone who is an ally. And Felina, if you could wrap up the second part of the question.
Yeah. Thank you, Kule. That's really helpful for me as a family member, as a friend, and working on being a good ally. So mahalo. Lilinoy, any thoughts from you?
Sorry, I lost my my mute button. No, I think Ku'ule did a really great job of kind of, focusing in on how we approach allyship. One of the really important things that we've also begun to incorporate into our allyship, understanding of allyship is the aloha response, through the teachings of Auntie Pilahipaki through Pono Shem. And we've been working with him to incorporate this understanding of how we, really look at aloha for its foundational understanding and all of the things that make up aloha, because it goes way beyond, its surface interpretation, right? It's so much deeper. And really that is, she was right. Well, Auntie Pilahipaki was definitely right when she said that Hawaii had something to teach the rest of the world. And, I think that answer, she said, not I think, she said that answer is aloha. And that is allyship. Like if you really, if you dive deep into that, that is allyship. And so our job is really to work with her teachings with Pono and to figure out a way to help share that to people through this training.
Mahalo nui to both of you. I think our attendees are walking away with so much today. I am walking away with so much today. I want to, hold this space to think about this holistic environment that shapes each of us. And that it is that environment, right, that is going to shape the way we are able to respond. And so for those of us in different kinds of positions on campus and in our community that get to shape, we all participate in shaping our environment. Some of us have some real influence in certain areas. And so the preventative measures that we can take to create wellness and in our communities. I'm really holding on to that. I'm holding on to this idea of a healing journey and how we all support one another on our healing journeys. And can be in this collective space of thinking about well-being and aloha, right? And how do we exchange? I think about kapu aloha and what we learned from so many of the folks in the Mauna about really upholding that space. What are we breathing out into the world because we are going to inhale it right back, right? And so that really important cycle that you folks are talking about. And aina, I just want to celebrate the two of you as we talk about aina and the importance of aina. So, the importance of connecting with aina, the importance of connecting together on aina, right? And that when we take care of aina can then take care of us. So I just want to celebrate the two of you so much. Kule, mahalo so much for being this mentor and holding space and doing this important work on campus. And Lilinoy for being this like engine. Oh my gosh, you're like the never, the bunny that never, dies out. And we're so grateful for you because we know that you two together with, with the teams that you work with are just touching so many lives and really teaching us, which I think is so important. And so I'm really grateful to the two of you. All our attendees, thank you for attending. Lilinoy dropped a bunch of different ways that you can connect with them and the Malama project in the chat. So please make sure you have copied those, however you need to. Everyone, please stay safe in the rain, in the wind, in the pandemic. There are tons of things that are being offered through the Malama Project and through Hawaii Papo Keao, and really throughout the university. Again, I'm going to just put my email in the chat in case you want to get onto our emailing list, in which we announce all kinds of things that are going on both on campus and in the community to support well-being. So with all of that, I'm going to say mahalo nui loa e ku'ule me lili noi, and to all of you attending, please stay safe. Aloha.
Olira ku'oko'a. Aloha.
Yeah. Aloha.
Aloha.
Mahalo.
Mahalo nui. Mahalo.